So thanks for coming and guys, this is an announcement to make. So the server on which you're right now on has more than 50,000 people. Yeah, we've crossed 50,000. And so yeah, that's pretty much celebration because of the value addition that we've been trying to provide to every single one of you. And thanks a lot. Thanks for coming because we are gonna start today in just a few minutes.
Can
Okay.
you hear me now?
Yes. It's too good.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Yeah, we can get started.
Um,
Let's go.
absolutely. All right. Taha, good to go?
Yep, I'm good to go.
Perfect. All right, again, greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Bluelearn's Web3 week. Today, we're going to talk about the big picture of Metaverse. So, what is it and how do we enter Metaverse? This is going to be, as I said before, a super consolidated one because of the guest that we have. Taaha, who is the CEO of Incepthink. Taha, please correct me if I'm spelling it right or any different. So,
Yeah, right on, right
this
on.
perfect. So, Incepthink is a company which is focused on creating cutting edge technology with applications ranging across diverse fields. Let's say starting at artificial intelligence to data science to blockchain and Web3. So, yeah, if you collect all of this, you see the big picture of Metaverse, which we're going to discuss today. Taha, welcome.
Hi, everyone. It's absolutely fantastic to see the turnout. Um, I think that's great. And we're only just getting started, which is fantastic. So thanks everyone who came out today. I wanted today's session to be really, interactive and more discussion based. So if anyone has any questions, please feel free to stop me, and I'm more than happy to take a detour and address that. Yeah, thank you so much, Chandan, for introducing me. It really has been a crazy ride. So since a little background about me is that since the past 3 years, my friends and I have been into AI and machine learning and blockchain, among other things. And we started forming teams and taking part in hackathons and creating small projects in college and things like that. And we seem to be pretty decent at it. And so in my fourth year, as soon as I got done with campus placements, I started my first NFT project, and in the upcoming 4 months we reached the worldwide top 5 highest traded volume based on 24-hour sales. So reaching that milestone was fantastic for us. We started getting a lot of attention, and we started talking to a lot of people from other companies who'd been in blockchain but not necessarily into NFTs. And we ended up getting acquired by a Hong Kong based sustainability company, which was quite embedded in blockchain, but not so much in NFTs. And so they wanted to create a separate vertical altogether for NFTs, which is where we joined in. We started working on the NFT side for them, and I became their head of blockchain. After working over there for around 8, 9 months, I decided that, in a gold rush where everyone is digging gold and everyone is like, benefiting from NFTs, nobody's focusing on what utility can be added to NFTs and what happens next once NFTs are already out there. And so putting that information to good use, and with a lot of help and support from some blockchains, including Polygon, we started another company called Incepthink. And what Incepthink is basically doing is that we are trying to answer the questions as to, once you have NFTs, what do you do next? What all utility can be added? How NFTs can be made better and more impactful? And how they can be integrated with both real world items as well as metaverse items. So that's essentially the nutshell of how I got here and where I am today. So yeah,
Got
it's been
it,
a
got it.
crazy ride, and
Taha,
yeah,
can I interrupt you for a
just go
second?
ahead. Sure.
All right. So, guys, okay. So we are right now on Web3 events section, right? Above this channel, there is Web3. That is a pure chat channel. So I would really love to see your response. Um, I would really love to see your response over there. Okay, if you're here, can I get a yes in the Web3 chat channel? Yes. Okay. Taha, have you been seeing the response?
Yeah, that is insane. I mean, I'm not even used to seeing that much so soon. So
So
yeah,
yeah, this is just the beginning. Guys, I have a beautiful announcement to make. At the end of the session, we're gonna have a bunch of questions, and answering right to those questions, let's say the fastest finger first, in that format, we're gonna give away NFTs. So yeah, because that's the reason why super amazing session this is going to be. And at the same time, this is going to be an equivalent rewarding session as well. And more, yeah, as Harish said, it's going to be personalized NFTs. Underline it. And guys, so I would really, really want you to listen to this. I mean, I know that you're listening, but definitely this is going to be a great session. Yeah. Thanks, Taha. We can continue.
Okay, superb. So I guess we can just wow, somebody sent a huge smiley on the thing. I don't know how he did that, but yeah. So yeah, let's start with essentially what a metaverse is, and then we can take it from there. So a metaverse is a collection of 3D virtual worlds, and the main aspect of a metaverse is to engage people more, to get them on a common platform, and to foster social engagement. So regardless of all the building abilities, regardless of all the other abilities that you can have on the metaverse, the reason why metaverse is a lot more impactful than anything else is because it is synchronous, meaning that everybody can be on it at the same time. So a lot of people see the value, especially since the pandemic. We've realized that it is getting harder and harder to meet people. At the same time, it's getting harder and harder to tangibly engage with things, which is why the metaverse is the perfect solution. Because now I very frequently meet all of my colleagues in a metaverse, or I very frequently meet people I want to meet in a metaverse, or NFT drops happen in the metaverse, and tons of other things happen over there. So metaverse is like a 3D augmented reality recreation, and it's a virtual world. But the catch is that everyone has to be in it at the same time to engage with each other, and that's what it's intended to do, right? So that's what a metaverse is. Now, how it helps is because getting in and out of the metaverse is extremely easy. So to give you some context, if a physical event happens, not too many people can attend it. But in the metaverse, so many people can attend it that it just makes it a lot more impactful. Additionally, metaverses give a lot of power back to the user. So I'm sure a lot of you people would have at some point seen or even played Minecraft. And the best thing about Minecraft is that you get to build your own structures, you get to build whatever it is that you want to build, and you get to, like, create something within the boundaries of what the metaverse allows you to create, of course. And then that alone can become something that a lot of people see and engage with, which is where metaverse is giving power back into the hands of the users. So yeah, this is pretty much the definition of what it is. Once again, if anyone has any questions, please stop me right then and there. I might not see the chat, so I guess someone in the moderators can just hit me up and tell me that I missed something. I think Chandan will tell me.
Sure, sure,
But
sure.
yeah, superb. So any questions thus far? Great. Okay. So now we've figured out what a metaverse is. Let's figure out what it is that we can do there. So I'm not sure if we've already had a talk about NFTs, but I'll just touch upon it a little bit myself. So the reason why the assets and in the metaverse being digitized is such a huge game changer is because when you own a digital asset, whether it's in the form of an NFT or not, the the trick is that it is yours. And when it is yours, I mean, you get to change it, you get to transfer it, you get to lease it out, you get to build something on it, you get to, combine it in various factors with other things. Okay, someone just asked, can you please explain the connection between NFT and the metaverse? Sure. So NFTs are non-fungible tokens, and a metaverse is a 3D virtual reality space. Now, a 3D virtual reality space is obviously built up of various sectors or factors or things. So all of these things that make up a metaverse can be segmented, and then they can be tokenized. When they are tokenized and the commercial rights and the ownership of it is also tokenized along with it and then passed over to someone, that's exactly what an NFT is. So let's think of a metaverse like a huge plot of land. Everything that can exist in this metaverse, from the characters to the outfits to the accessories to vehicles to maybe jetpacks or things like that the metaverse can have, to the land itself, to the ability to create more items onto this metaverse, all of this is something that's within the domain of this metaverse. If you can tokenize this and provide ownership of it and then transfer it to somebody, that becomes an NFT. So that's the connection between an NFT and a metaverse. So
Here's a quick question. What do you explain tokenization? Super basic. How do you explain tokenization to, let's say, Someone who is like absolutely new to this field.
Okay, got it. So tokenization is the process of segmenting something into smaller parts and then distributing those parts with the ownership of it. So I think the most simplistic form of tokenization is what happens in a movie theater. So what essentially happens is that the movies streaming shows, it costs them a certain amount to have that movie screening, and they expect to sell that to people, but they don't expect a single person to buy it. So what they do is that they dissect the movie theater into various seats, and then they create a token or a ticket corresponding to that seat, and then they sell individual tickets. And the caveat within these tickets is that this ticket entitles you to the space on that seat for this period in time, with a little bit of buffer before and after. So that's the simplest version of what tokenization means. So like the movie theater takes the theater, breaks it up into seats, sells the space on the seats for a small period of time, and then sells those tokens to people. So that's exactly how the black market starts, right? Like people end up buying a lot of tickets and then they sell them to other people, and the secondary market develops because of it, and which is to some extent what's also happening with NFTs. But that's the easiest way to understand tokenization. Sounds good.
Definitely understood. So Taha, I
Okay,
have a
great.
question. Do you want to? I understand that you want to make it conversational, but I mean, going between, let's say, questions makes us, let's say, lose the flow. I believe, let's say, starting with an introduction and then going and then explaining. Can we take the questions at the end, or do you want to make it sections and section wise? You want to take questions? How do you want to do it?
Okay, cool. I guess we can do it section wise, because
Sure.
people might forget what their questions are. But
Exactly.
fine. So we've gotten through what a metaverse is. That's cool. Let's
Mhm.
now try and figure out what all can be done in a metaverse. And if anyone has any ideas and points that I've missed out, please let me know. So
And
one
also,
of the
please do
easiest.
highlight about the point how a college student can be so related to it. Like, how does a college student enter into this?
Understood. Okay. So the good thing is that metaverses are, free for all, in the sense that anybody can enter into a metaverse, which is the great thing about them. So for a college student, which is something that I especially did a lot when I was in college, since I graduated just last year, is that I used to always go and take a look and see what is happening in the metaverse, because it's one of the few places where even cool events that have already elapsed leave a lot of residue. What that means is that if you go into a metaverse and not much is going on, you'll still be able to see what's left of a cool party that happened. And that gives you an idea of what all is happening in the metaverse. And that's essentially how I learned what all is, happening. And then I learned how to like get onto these bandwagons. Then I learned how to go ahead and create these events myself. And now I am creating some metaverse events with some large organizations, like for example, in mid-February, where our company is planning to do a metaverse along with Polygon. So if you are in college, as most of you guys are, what I would suggest is go in the metaverse, move around a lot, see what people are doing, marvel at how what all has been built, but at the same time try and understand to some extent how it would have been built and why people have built it and what all is happening here. And if you wanted to do something specific, how would you have gone about it? Right? Like I remember, I think last month, my friend and I were in a metaverse and we saw a treasure hunt, and we thought, wow, this thing looks really cool. And we went through that entire treasure hunt, and at the end of it, there was just a Google form link that we needed to fill out. And we thought, okay, so what if people just start giving this to their friends? That kind of defeats the whole purpose of having a treasure hunt to begin with, right? Because the end reward can be so easily shared. And we started thinking of whether there was ways to make it such that it can be filled only once, make it such that that link expires and changes over time, make it such that you have to claim the item within the metaverse itself. And we ended up building a solution that is now looking to be acquired by a large corporation, because they figured the same thing. It's just that it wasn't like number one on their agenda to fix, and we managed to fix it for them. And so now they're very keen on working with us, and they want our help in creating all their metaverse events, simply because we figured that, yeah, this is a problem that needs fixing, and maybe we are the ones to do it. So yeah, since you guys are also in college, like go through these things. Metaverse is a fairly early technology. A lot of things are going to seem weird and like wonky, and you are capable enough to improve upon it already. So I'm very sure that there'll be a lot of cool suggestions coming from the people on this call as well about what all can be done better in the metaverse, and I'm very excited to hear about it. So that's what you should do. Okay. Now coming back to what all metaverses can be used for. The easiest thing is metaverses can be used for parties and events where people come and interact. But metaverses can also be used for product launches and reveals. In the future, there'll be fashion shows, there'll be auto car shows, there will be new product launches, there'll be building and real estate launches, there'll be virtual conferences. All of these things can be used in the metaverse. Another thing that metaverses can be used for is gaming. So GameFi is also a sector that's being quickly developed, and a lot of people are trying to figure out on it. One of the most interesting events I've personally attended in the metaverse is a block event. So essentially, there was this huge block, and there were I think there were 500 or 600 people who were all trying to break layers of the block to get to the center. And depending on how much block you break, and depending on which specific square you're on, there was a chance that you could win some prizes that were NFTs. So that was a really,
Uh,
really cool. Sorry, go ahead.
just to clarify, so is it something like how we mine in Minecraft, let's say breaking those blocks?
Exactly like that. Yeah,
Sounds
that
really
was that
interesting,
was
man.
yeah, that was one of the coolest things I've done in the metaverse yet. Like people are just
Okay.
like breaking away and going at it, and so yeah, that was really fun. But so yeah, I mean, we've talked about conferences, we've talked about social events, we've talked about parties, we've talked about GameFi. If there are any other
Hmm.
suggestions you guys have, please
Yes, yes,
please
yes.
do let
So
me know.
as you talked about, let's say acquisition, let's say your startup or the or your work is trying to be acquired by major companies. So as you said, so talking about the recent political, sorry, not political. Let's go. Let's say in the commercial aspect, when we see these
Uh-huh.
big chains such as Nike and H&M, Nike has already acquired a startup which is already creating an NFT wearable technology. I mean, let's say the material that can be projected as an NFT, right?
Mhm.
So where do you see this going? Where do you see fashion attaching with NFTs, or let's say the
Oh,
business
dude,
prospect of it?
that is a beautiful question. So I won't give away too many details, but we are in the process of building something extremely similar, and we are doing so with fashion brands. So what we recently figured out is that, like I said, our main goal is to give meaning to NFTs and tangible items, right? So physical wearables is definitely one of them. In fact, you guys can't see me right now, but the hoodie that I'm wearing has the Incepthink logo on it, and it has a corresponding NFT. So I'll explain. So what we're doing is that to solve this problem, we're creating NFTs that can be sold with the promise that you can claim physical merchandise off the back of it. So the user experience is that a customer buys the NFT, then they come to our platform, they enter which size they want because they'll be of different sizes if it's a wearable. They'll enter which color they want because there'll be a small selection of choices they can make in the color. And in the future, they'll also be allowed to choose what pattern they want on the on the physical merchandise. Once you've entered this entire selection, right, your NFT is destroyed, and a secondary NFT is minted, which incorporates what your product would look like. Once that NFT is minted, a physical item is like created, and it has a QR code that corresponds to the minting of your NFT. So essentially, by choosing whatever choices you're making, you're you're initializing the creation of a physical asset that is linked to this NFT, which will be shipped to you. And as an add-on, you can get the same thing in the metaverse as well. What is so unique and distinct about this is that you know that you now own an item that you own the commercial rights to. There is a very limited supply of it, and there's a certain aspect of rarity to it. It cannot be duplicated, and that can be verified on chain. But what's most important is that you're now part of an exclusive club of other people who own this, and there's some amount of visibility on who else owns this. So pretty soon we'll be seeing, high-end sneakers that are owned by, let's say, one person who also knows for a fact that the equivalent product that can be traced back to the same batch size of this is also owned by a celebrity, or is also owned by some really adept blockchain founder, or is also owned by someone else that they can meet in person as well as in the metaverse. And this experience cannot be recreated. So that's just one of the that's just one of the directions we are taking. I know people who are doing NFTs projected on designer bags, and they're getting into fashion. I know people who are trying to do metaverse fashion shows and ramp walks and things like that. And yes, a lot of people are trying to do, clothes that are AR enabled themselves. So when people scan them on a phone, they can see things moving, they can see 3D things coming up, they can see other things popping up and things like that. And that's exactly where this is going, because NFTs and all, they always start at the basic level of DeFi. But as soon as people realize that this is something that can make money, that's when GameFi and fashion and luxury items and experiences, all these things just come into it. And that's exactly where the metaverse is heading to. So that's a fantastic question. And I hope I didn't confuse anybody about what our idea was, but we'll be putting out a blog about it very soon. So if you guys subscribe to our newsletter, you'll definitely get it. But yeah, that's a great question. And this is something that I see a lot of value in people building. What I see more value though is that instead of companies like Nike acquiring NFT companies to make AR, it would make a lot more sense for NFT companies to just establish a product and then team up or partner up with a whole bunch of brands. And so now people have a selection of brands that they can get in this NFT plus metaverse plus phygital, as we call it, combination, if that makes sense.
That actually made
Yeah.
a lot of sense to me because so I'll tell you something. Like over the past few days, I mean, as you said, like integration of let's say if I pull up a phone and then scan a small design on a jacket, then if it comes to life, let's say adding a little of animation looks really really fancy, and I 100% agree to that. But here comes my question. Looking at the short term traction to it, just like how the trends go on. This is a question from the public as well, from the people who are in the session. So, do we see NFTs and the whole traction of metaverse being a bubble?
Oh
What do you
wow,
think?
that is a
What do you
fantastic
think?
question. Yeah, that's very very well said. So I understand to a large extent why people feel NFTs are a bubble, and a lot of that is true in my opinion. Right, at some point, wanting proof of ownership, having commercial rights, and having the copyright of what is essentially an image is not going to cut it at the end of the day. So NFTs as they stand today are very, very likely to become obsolete simply because this is not going to be able to impress people anymore. And that's when people have to get creative and figure out what more can be done with NFTs. So just to re-clarify this point, what people are saying is correct. NFTs as we know them today, which is essentially images or JPEGs or, and that's all that they signify, with the inclusion of the fact that you have the commercial rights and you have the IP of it, is no longer going to cut it. But the technology of NFT that allows people to tokenize various attributes and features and aspects of something physical, that is here to stay. Because one of the projects that we are also working on is tokenizing real estate, which makes a lot of sense actually, because at the end of the day, you have your real estate papers that are like you can't change them, and they have a whole bunch of data and information that's supposedly recorded. And there's proof of ownership that you owning them gives you the right to own the physical property. So that is a very, very good use case you know, of NFTs. Or here's another thing that we're working on. So we recently met someone in Southeast Asia that has a whiskey manufacturing company. And as they were explaining to us that whiskey is an asset that is, you know, it has a lot of provenance to it. Like it needs to be bottled in a certain way, it needs to be stored in a certain way, it needs to be brewed at a certain place with a certain license. And these things then accrue value over time, and they're closely monitored and they're kept under certain very specific conditions. And all that data needs to be encapsulated. And they're looking at a way of doing NFTs to essentially have that data. And so these are all breakthrough things for NFTs that are very, very close to coming up. In fact, sometime in February or March, there is even a concert happening in Gurgaon by this band called Seedhe Maut. I'm not sure how many people might know about it, but our company is even doing the tickets for them as NFTs. So now you'll be able to own proof of attendance of that event. And by simply having that NFT and attending that event, not only will it have like a little bit of sentimental value, but specifically it allows people to transfer these tickets or sell them or trade them and things like that. And also having these tickets will then it will then help you tie into the physical merchandise. And so a new class of direct to customer commerce can be created, in which it's very easy for you to directly target and identify the people who are at a specific event. And that's why I feel that in the longer term, all these various aspects of NFTs are here to stay. But what people feel is very correct, and I agree with it, that NFTs being images that are bought, sold, and traded is like we're likely to see a decline of that, and to some extent, it's already started.
Understood. So Taha, just to rephrase it a little bit so that just let me know if I got it correctly or not. So the idea of, let's say, the short-term capital gain, so that what we see, like things getting sold at thousands of dollars right now, we see that as a traction. But the fundamental idea of it being individualized, let's say owning an asset, that to digitally, this core value is to stay, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
And we see this metamorphosis towards the real big assets, let's say digital land, the real estate side of it.
Right.
Beautiful.
I mean, it makes so much sense, right? For example, this happened with me genuinely, wherein I was waiting for my degree, and a lot of my friends needed their transcripts because they wanted to apply for master's programs, and the only way our college could send our degree to us was by post. And even today, whichever college you apply to for a master's program, double and triple checks that the documents you're sending them are genuine. And the fact that they scrutinize it so much lends to the fact that they must obviously be getting some duplicates, which is why, or they must be getting some fraudulent ones, which is why they're so particular about it. Which begs the question that why do universities not give out degrees as NFTs? I mean, that data should and can never change, and you can track who specifically has created that asset. So if the college owns a wallet address that they never lose control of, then that can very easily be verified as well. And you don't even need to send it to the college, right? Because it's on the blockchain, so they can just see what you have and what the properties of it are and how much it matches their thing. And this entire process can be automated. So the only thing that prevents it from happening is people catching up to the technology, which isn't that hard to wrap your head around. And I even reached out to our college and said that, do you guys want to work on NFTs and things like that? Of course, they didn't really get it, but that's okay. It's definitely something that I think is going to happen in the future. So what you're saying is true. The underlying concept of NFTs is here to stay.
Definitely. As you said, like I mean, if this comes to reality, let's say the idea of sending by college issuing NFTs, I mean, certificates as NFTs, the entire problem of hassle is just going to be like a snap. It's going to be
Exactly.
great, man. Yeah. Okay, so what else recently just blew your mind?
Good question. Well, recently, what blew my mind is seeing the new and improved, protocols that people are coming up with NFTs. So earlier, the NFT technology was extremely rigid. Everyone used to make it the exact same way. But now there are people who put more inserted content or metadata, as you could say. So a lot of people are doing that. Even we are trying to figure out how to do it better. But what that means is that your NFTs can, to some extent, provide more and more data that gets revealed over time. So that's one thing that really blew my mind. In fact, this is also an announcement that I guess we can make because the partnership has come through. So day before yesterday, we partnered up with this company called Chainlink. So Chainlink is a $24 billion company that makes something called oracles. And what oracles do is that they pass real world data to NFTs in machine language. That's basically what they do. So what that means is that I could create an NFT today with a certain data point, knowing that the feed for that needs to come in through the Oracle and machine language that is decentralized and can be verified. And so, what this NFT signifies and what this NFT represents is going to change over time depending on real world events. For example, I could have, you know, a question mark and like two separate football team logos and saying who's going to win this game, and the winning team's logo will be displayed on it at the end of the day. And the Oracle will pass in that data, which is really cool. Because if you think about this going forward, the same thing can be happening for award shows and Academy Awards. And one very specific use case that I even investigated while I was working at my previous workplace was trying to understand how this can happen with wildlife, which means that now people who support conservation and wildlife and animal preservation, they can actually be involved and see what is going on with it. So if you decide to sponsor like a rhino or something, and the NFT background can change based on the savanna conditions. If the real world rhino dies, this NFT can perish. If the rhino has a baby or if the population increases, you can get a supplementary NFT to this. And I think that really blew my mind with the way people are building oracles and how they can pass real world data. So at the moment, I guess the technology that has been achieved is only single point data, which means that only you can get data from only one source. But going forward, we'll be looking at multiple point data, which means that the data can be to a large extent verified.
I mean, I must say, like, okay, just correct me if I'm wrong. So, what you just said is like, let's say the single point data is basically having one stock image, but let's say one stock image of a baby. Let's consider that. But when it comes to
Okay,
this dual point idea, let's say if the baby grows into a man and then he just gets bigger and bigger, gets married, the NFT is gonna, let's say, modify and evolve into the reality that it is today, right?
exactly, yeah.
I mean, this is going to be great. As like the example that you quoted, let's say funding, let's say an animal in a zoo is something that which a lot of people do. But having
Right,
that being seen in reality in real time on an NFT is a real big badge like an asset.
right.
Guys, am I audible? Or
Yeah,
did
yeah.
I
You just cut
just
out
get
for a second.
disconnected? Oh,
No,
okay,
it's
okay.
okay. It's okay. It's back now. Yeah.
All right. So, I mean, we've been getting a tons of questions. So, okay. So, before we get to the questions, I would want you to, let's say, tell me something new ventures. Let's say you've been talking with a lot of companies in this space, and definitely, okay. I have this idea. Just let me know how it sounds. Uh, Imagine we eat Bonville every day, right? We eat Bonville, the
Hmm.
chocolate, the dark cocoa chocolate. So this bar, which we get, we know that it's great just because of the branding that it has been attached to. Let's say Cadbury. What if it has an NFT? Let's say it's deployed on a blockchain. I get to know
Right,
at what day was the coca bean was cut and what day, just like how you explained the whiskey side of it.
right. Yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
Do you see children getting attached to this set of a market? Do you see this let's say evolution being happen?
Right. So 100% yes. In fact, one of my friend's parents have a company that does this for tea. So they already do exactly what you mentioned without using NFTs or blockchain, but they do it with fine, like high quality tea, and they work with like a lot of luxury resorts and high end, uh, you know, um, hotels where you can scan the QR code and you can get exactly this, like where specifically the tea was, when it was plucked, how it was transferred, what conditions it were in, like a whole bunch of other data and things like that. And you can, it's like it gives you all the data from the part where it was planted to the part where it's at your table. So the very same thing can be replicated for chocolates and things like that. And using blockchain technology for this makes a lot of sense. So 100% I can see this coming through. And if it does happen, people will definitely get attached to it because nowadays your average consumer is a lot more informed and takes decisions that are data driven. So providing data is the name of the game.
Understood. Okay, so here comes my next question. Okay, do you wanna continue or do you want me to ask the question?
You go ahead, dude. It's going great.
Okay, let's make it conversational, as conversational as possible. You cool with that?
Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. So, okay, here comes my next question. This is about okay, if we scroll back a few years ago, let's say 6, 7 years ago, before Geo being introduced, before the idea of free internet, I still remember the time running to a network center. I mean, the BSNL office paying 40 rupees to get 200, let's say 180 MB, and to download a game. And and just imagine today, we just like downloading stuff, and then we are undoing it, thinking of nothing. This abundancy of data has really driven the entire economy to a great extent. But we see metaverse as a great option. I totally hands down agree to that. But do you see the required technology being available? Because the equivalent amount of experiences, so-called Discord, metaverse experiences, which we are talking about, are completely relevant to the technology he or she would be having. Because everybody can't really afford a $550 Oculus right now. How do you answer that?
That's a very good question. And you're right. To a large extent, the metaverse is going to be limited by the technology of its time. And what you're saying is true. Like rather than just having like the $550 Oculus, the other thing that people need to a large extent is bandwidth, right? Because the more data packets are being exchanged, the more network and the stronger internet speeds people need to have, and they might not always have, which is why even a lot of large things like Decentraland are quite wonky and they don't work well. So that is definitely going to become a bottleneck. But as you know, people are very, very intuitive and clever at solving these things. In fact, one of my mentors has already started his own company called Huddle, which uses decentralized servers for instant messaging, and they've achieved a better latency than Zoom, which is insane. And people are going to keep doing this and building more and more. In fact, there is also this product called Theta Network, which is allowing people to decentrally, put up or like make available to other people excess data that's not used, which can be used by other people for streaming, or in this case, the metaverse, allowing people to have access to a larger bandwidth of data than their device supports, which is also quite incredible. So as much as this is a bottleneck at the moment, and I can definitely see it being a roadblock going forward, it's very easy to assume that people are going to think of more innovative or better or clever solutions to circumvent this problem, because the first person who does will essentially be a hero. So everyone wants to be that.
Understood. So, okay, you know just how amazed I was based upon the latency thing that you just talked. Have you watched this TV show called The Silicon Valley?
I haven't, but a lot of people tell me I should.
Because what you just said is like a clear thing. Let's say the thing what they perceive and they try to build over there is something that you were I mean, the examples that you quoted and just now what you talked about, the decrease in the latency was a huge idea. And I don't want to spoil the show for you, but I really suggest you to watch it.
Oh yeah, I will definitely. One of these days when I get time, I will.
Hmm. Okay, so let's talk about the creator side of it. As you said, like there is this band which is what's the name of the band again?
सीधे मौत.
Come again, sorry.
सीधे मौत.
Seedhe Moth.
Yeah,
Okay, it's got pretty deep meaning. Okay, fine.
yeah,
So is it a hard metal rock band?
yeah. So I'm told. I don't listen to their music yet.
Okay, fine. All right.
They're a hip
So
hop
if you
band though. So yeah.
got it. Let's consider it that way. So if you look at creator economy, so driving people onto, let's say, content creators onto the metaverse is going to be a whole different task by itself. Do you see a
Exactly.
huge leverage for jobs in this segment?
Massive. Absolutely massive. The reason is because creating metaverse assets is not an easy task. It is not as simple as just creating a Blender file and uploading it. There is a lot of work that needs to go into this. There are various file formats. There is so much conversion. There are drop rates. There are surfaces that don't render, because we've had these same issues in my own company, right? Like it's just there's a particular surface that looks absolutely horrible when you render it, and you just can't do anything about it. And it's a huge learning curve. So people who understand this, people who have practiced this, people who are adept at this and can just take care of it for people are going to be very high in demand. That's a very good point. This isn't the easiest thing to do. So definitely not just now, even going forward, there are a lot of metaverse builders that are going to have a lot of advantage in this game.
Got it. I mean, I must say, I'm really enjoying this conversation. Not like a webinar, but I really feel this is a beautiful conversation.
Yeah, man, my pleasure.
Okay, so tell me what interests you around the segment of metaverse. I mean, not like the things that we talked about. Let's say, who is Taaha behind around this?
Okay, got it. So the segment that excites me the most about the metaverse is that even though I was extremely social in college, Web3 is like a completely different dimension. And the diversity of people, not just the diversity of the people that I've met, but the diversity of people that I'm very close friends with is insane. Just because of hanging out in the metaverse and in Web3, because you'll meet people from all sorts of time zones, you'll meet people from all sorts of different backgrounds and things like that. And what's extremely interesting is that all the metaverse characters look the same, and I think there is a lot of value in not knowing things that you obviously know about people that you meet. For example, if I go out to the park or something and I run into somebody, I pretty much already know the gender. I know how approximately how old this person is. I know, or rather, I can guess what section of society they are part of and things like that. That does not apply to the metaverse, especially since most people are anonymous. Like even if you look at my alias, it just says crypto dude. I mean, I could be a kid, I could be a really old guy. I could not even be a guy. Like it could be misleading. And these are just things that people don't really know, which makes it fabulous as an experience in meeting new people. So personally for me, that is like the thing I'm most wowed by and the thing I find most exciting in this space. That there are people whom I've met and they'll just have like shadow something or like something or like fire something or phoenix something, and it's only after like months of talking to them and getting to know them and all you realize that, oh fine, this is like a lady who has like a 5-year-old kid, or this is like a guy, or this is some other college student, or this is some hospital, nurse or some surgeon or something like that. And it's insane because you never really thought, and there's really no way you know until you have spoken to them for a while. In which case, there's already like a certain connection that's been built with people based off of nothing that you would normally use to rely on. So that's my biggest takeaway.
Got it. Got it. Got it. Got it. Got it. So, okay, let's get to the basic question. I mean, I believe the question coming right now, almost at the end of the conversation, makes a lot of sense. So, since a lot of people, let's say 345 people, around 350 people who are with us right now, have got an understanding about the applications and where do they see this growing, the big picture. So, how do they start? Let's say, what are the resources they can rely upon? What are your suggestions?
Okay, that's great. So one thing that I'm definitely going to do is I'm going to put up more links. I've already put up, just today we put up a blog post about, and even on our website, we have like a bunch of blockchain basics, which explains what is blockchain, what is Web3, what is the metaverse, what are the top 10 metaverses, and things like that. So that's one reliable place for you to get information. But more importantly, I would say just pick like the top one, two, or three metaverses and just go into them. So you can just take a look at Sandbox, CryptoVoxels, and Decentraland. So you just go to Decentraland, you get into it, you have a look around, you figure out how to navigate and things like that, and try to make sense of what's going on here. And you will learn so much, and you will be amazed, not just now, but progressively as you understand how these things are built. Because you join and you think, oh wow, this looks great. They must have made it somehow. And when you finally figure out how challenging and how much coordination or how much planning and strategy is required just in making these things because of the constraints of the metaverse itself, that's what really, really amazes you, right? Like, I mean, for example, people are not overly impressed with, what happens in a game like Fortnite because, there are like cutting edge game developers behind it who are making this pretty much all day. But when you see a particular user who's made something in Minecraft, knowing how difficult it is to make over there, that really, really blows your mind. And it's going to be a very similar experience. So for the 350 people who are in here, just get into the system. Like if you don't have a MetaMask wallet already, it's called MetaMask. Go and install that browser extension and create a wallet. In fact, create the wallet and fill out the Google form on my website, and I'll give everyone an NFT as well. And so you have your first NFT to go with it. After that, you use this MetaMask wallet as your digital fingerprint or your digital account to log into all the Web3 websites and start with Decentraland. You can check out CryptoVoxels and the Sandbox as well, and go in there, see what other people have built, have a look around, get familiarized with the controls and things like that. And yeah, just read about this as much as you can, because the best part about these things is that the manuals are actually being written because things are being discovered all the time. In fact, just this morning, somebody called me and told me about a new NFT token standard with a higher amount of efficiency that has been developed by somebody else. And it's been 8 hours since then, and we've already figured out how to replicate it to some extent. So, like, a lot of people are moving in this direction, and a lot of people are doing things like this. And I want all the college guys to especially do this because this is how you learn the most. And if you guys have any questions ever, like you can just reach out to me at any time. My email is taha@incepthink.com, or you can just reach out to the contact section of us on our website, and we'd be very happy to provide additional resources, maybe get on a call or guide you through something. Always here.
Understood, understood. Can you repeat the thing that what you just talked about, the innovation this morning? Let's say the discovery.
Okay, sure. So essentially, what I was made aware of is that people who mint NFTs all import the same kind of libraries because they all want them to conform to the same standard. But when you import these libraries, you import them without understanding what these libraries do, which makes sense, right? You don't understand it, that's why you import it. So we import a bunch of libraries, we use them to mint NFTs, but we don't take a look at what these libraries do. Someone out there did and realized that things could be done a little more efficiently. What that means is that if if I mint an NFT, what actually happens is that first that NFT is generated, then my account is updated, and then the blockchain is updated. Or sorry, first the NFT is minted, then the blockchain is updated, and then my account is updated. So those are the three steps. What somebody realizes that if I need to mint multiple NFTs, I ideally should not be looping this process because I can just update at the end. Whereas everybody is exactly looping this process, and that's kind of become a standard. So someone disrupted that standard, and that project is called Azuki, and created a new standard called ERC 721A. Before this, it used to be called ERC 721. So they created ERC 721A, in which all the NFTs get minted first, then the wallet gets updated, which is very smart. So the updating thing is happening only once, and you're saving, gas fees, or you're saving computational expense whenever you're having multiple transactions in one. So that's a huge gain. Not just did they do that, they then reached out to a third party auditing company and got this audited so that everybody could be certain that it is secure. And once they got that done, they published a blog post about this. So one of my friends saw it. He sent it to me. I read it. I called our CTO and told him that this is what I've discovered. He took a look at it. He explored a little bit, and now we're trying to recreate it. That's how fast and how coolly things develop in the space. So the advice I have for everyone else is also like, get really into the ones and zeros of it. Try to understand as much as you can. Be explorative and see what other people are doing. Because this is literally how people learn. Like, this is so fresh and this is so new that it's literally just come up. So yeah, that's what happened this morning.
Got it. So I have a bunch of questions as you were explaining about it. Like there, like a lot of questions are popping up. So okay, so let me get to this fundamental thing. Let's say if there are people, let's say, I mean, there are a great number of chances when things can go in a negative side. Let's say if
Okay.
I'm on Instagram, if there is some sort of a body, let's say policing, if there is some sort of, let's say, stuff which can really change the tracks of people into a negative side. So we have this
Correct.
report button and things like that, the entire idea of policing online. But when it comes to the decentralized side of it, how do we tackle this problem?
That's a very good question. So this is a growing problem for sure. Like, a lot of people are just putting up whatever content they want, and since there is no way of regulating it, it gets onto the blockchain whether they like it or not. As a combat to this, a lot of marketplaces like OpenSea have taken power into their own hands, wherein instead of displaying content from the blockchain, they first take the blockchain data and store it in their own backend, and then display content from the backend. That still does not stop offensive content from being published. But what that does is that if offensive content is published, somebody can report it, and then it can be progressively taken down. So that is one way of combating it. And this is something that a lot of people are doing, which I think makes sense as well. So even though the platform is decentralized, having an intermediary and having an intermediate backend, which simply stores the data that's on the blockchain already and then presents it to you, wherein it can take care of any offensive content, is beneficial. And so a lot of people are okay with this, and this is the right way for it to happen as well, because and that this is like a raging conversation that people weigh in on all the time on the internet. That is that, like, centralized versus decentralized, what's the sweet spot, right? What's the right level of freedom you want without being exposed to the worst that people can do? So yeah.
Got it. So I mean, this brings more to the debate. Let's say centralizing it completely. I mean, removes the idea of let's say decentralization. I mean, completely removes the idea of freedom from it. But when it comes to
Correct.
let's say, how do we get the sweet spot? Tell me, like, without disturbing the freedom, how do you get to a sweet spot?
By trial and error. At least that's what people are doing thus far. So, like, you have a completely centralized version that already exists, right? Which is like how your banks work. You have a completely decentralized version that exists. which is how your online wallet works. And there are a lot of solutions that people are coming up with in between. For
Hmm.
example, one of my friends recently got hacked, and so now she's gone ahead and created a bank account with some Hong Kong company that essentially is centralized, and they are controlling her online wallet for her. And it takes 24 hours for her to do a transaction now, which means that if she gets hacked again, she'll very easily be able to withdraw. So even though that's to some extent centralized, that's the right amount of sweet spot for her. And it's pretty much trial and error at this point.
Got it. This is good. This is good, man. I mean, it's a whole different perspective for me. So glad to know. Okay, so let's get to this question. I mean, there are people asking the same question. So okay, so the question is as follows. We since we talked about experiences on a metaverse. I mean, we have seen. Let's say, how many experiences do we get? We also talked about the rigidity. Let's say the consumer technology comes to an extent. Beyond this, let's say if we are doing a podcast, let's say if you're doing a podcast with our digital pictures on a screen, you sitting on the other side of the table, and if you're doing that, to how much extent do you think that gives the experience of a real world? I mean, real world experience is, I mean, tapping it would be real hard. How much do you think immersive would it get?
Yeah, that's a very, very good question. So that is very interesting because nowadays, and this is just my personal opinion, but when people even meet in person, a lot of the things that they do to engage or interact is still done digitally. What that means is that, like if you meet somebody in person, especially with an agenda in mind, there's probably a laptop that they're using to do something, or a phone that they're using to do something, or a screen, or something along those lines. And whatever that aspect of it is, can very easy, I mean, it can identically be recreated in the metaverse, which is why it's even relevant. Of course, the human interaction aspect of it, as well as the how do I put this, as well as the spatial side of it, as well as the tactile side of it. At least as of now, it hasn't been recreated, but people still do and are going to continue to prefer it simply because of the convenience, because it's just too convenient, right? And as the pandemic progresses, people are getting more and more used to that convenience, and so they'll always probably prefer it, which makes the metaverse a lot more convenient. So it's a small price to pay in the eyes of most people. But you're right, it cannot exactly be recreated, at least with the current technology.
Got it. And by the way, have you recently seen who's the vice president of Meta? I forgot his name. I'm so sorry. So on his recent let's say one of the social media handle, he dropped this video where there are like as I just said, like there will be a bunch of people sitting on a long table, just like how we find on these let's say offices. They'll be having a discussion, and all of those are, let's say, animated. Let's say the digital copies of them. The hand gestures are, let's say, nearly 40% accurate to reality, and 40% doing it was like a whole different level. And do you see Meta coming into monopoly just like how Facebook did during 2007s?
Um, okay, that's a very good question. So I don't see any. I'm not sure if I see Meta coming into monopoly. The reason is because it is very difficult to create something that's far like head and shoulders above what everyone else is doing. But the interesting thing is that it is not that difficult to recreate it once it's been created the first time around, which a lot of other people will do. Also, another thing, and I'm not sure if I'm the best person to comment on this, but something that I've noticed is that even when something spectacular does get created, there are always better versions of it for specific niches, and that cannot be discounted for. So, keeping that in mind, it would be very, very difficult for people to create a monopoly. For example, when Facebook was created, there was Facebook and there was Facebook Messenger, and they started seeing a lot of mass adoption. But obviously, even though they were the most dominant social media platform, they could not really replace LinkedIn, which is specifically catered towards professional stuff and like people wanting jobs and things like that. So that niche exists, right? Then there was another one that's WhatsApp, which was for instant messaging. And despite WhatsApp existing, there was a lot of scope for Telegram, which came in with solving a problem that WhatsApp has, which was about it was primarily about security, but then at the end they started adding a lot of cooler features like stickers and things like that. And even now, like all the time, there are more and more things that are being created which are catered to solving very, very specific niches, which like Discord is a great example, right? Even though Facebook exists and Facebook has Facebook Live, it has Facebook groups, it has Messenger, you still cannot easily recreate what Discord is providing. So yeah, like all these factors considered, I don't see it. I don't see Facebook being a monopoly easily.
Understood. That's a really good explanation, connecting the dots. So okay, let's go to one last question. So
Sure.
I mean, have you seen Microsoft trying to do the same like 3-4 years ago?
I'm not sure. I was
So
abroad
actually,
three,
this
4 years
is
ago because I was studying.
okay. So this is a video that I've seen. I mean, Microsoft actually tried doing this like 2 years ago, minimum back. So their entire vision was, let's say, they made something close to metaverse. But the worst part, I mean, I don't know to use the word worst, but it's just so hilarious that people or the physical characters don't have lower parts to it. Let's say they don't have anything below torso. They just like they hover across the place, and it just looks so unidentified. So I mean, taking these minor characteristics into picture attaches a lot of reliability and, let's say, the trust, as you said before, the niches that brands start, just like how Messenger was special to Facebook. That plays a lot of
Right.
role. Do you think so?
Absolutely. And you're
Hmm.
right. Like all these things play a lot of influence.
All right. Yeah, thanks a lot, man. I mean, Taha, this has been a beautiful conversation, and yeah, that's where we reached to the end of this webinar.
Yeah, man, it was fantastic, and it was so nice having you here to ask all the right questions and paraphrase things as well. And a huge thank you to all the people asking questions. It's my pleasure to answer. And I mean, obviously, it doesn't need to stop here. So you guys can always reach out to me and ask questions. And hopefully, I'll be back on Bluelearn very soon to have a round two of this, which because this was super fun. So yeah, thank you so much.
Definitely, we'll be doing a lot of them. So yeah, looking forward again.
Okay, super.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. So yeah, that's where we reached to the end. And as I said before, we are doing an NFT giveaway. NFTs, we talked about those physical assets throughout this entire last 60 minutes, 66 minutes to be exact. So throughout the session, we did talk a lot about digital assets. And now we are giving digital assets for free. All you got to do is just answer the question right. Okay, are you guys with me? Okay, Viraj, can we get this started? If yes, can you drop a yes?
Yep, let's go.
All right. Okay, guys. Okay.
Also,
I mean,
we've shared the list of questions with you on WhatsApp. Just check that out.
sure. I received them. Yeah, I'm checking.
Nice. Tilak and Rochak, you guys can note down the winners and then approach them for their MetaMask wallet address so that we can send the NFTs to them later this week. Also, you guys won't be getting the NFTs right away. You'll be getting them by the end of this week. We are just we're just making them right now. We're just minting them and all of that stuff. So it'll take a little bit of time. So yeah, Chandan, over to you.
Viraj, by any chance, can we just freeze the chat? Because like we'll be going on the trial of fastest finger first.
Oh, damn. Wait. So, wait, I don't get this. What do you mean?
Okay, fine. So I would really want you to turn on the slow mode.
How long? There's a 10-second slow mode already.
Okay. Make it to 25.
Right.
I mean, this leaves make it to 20. Yeah, 20 would be good. That's a correct spot because this doesn't
Let's
let
make it
people. Okay,
15.
10.
Tilak is asking for
Yeah,
10. Let's
perfect.
make it 15.
Okay,
Wait for
15.
15 seconds, guys. If you put a message now, then after you'll have to wait for 15 seconds and you'll lose out on the giveaway
This is
even if
just to
you know
make
the
sure that
answers.
everyone gets a equivalent opportunity to answer rather one person spamming it a lot. So we don't
Yeah.
want this to happen.
Cool.
Okay, so yeah, can we get started? Let's start with a, let's say, trial question. Um, just like the how the 2000 rupee question on KBC sounds like. What is the name of a virus that started 2 years ago and which created lockdown in India? What's the name of the virus? Okay, this is
Okay, I was going
what
to
I
say
wanted.
Viru Sahasrabuddhe before you said started 2 years ago, but okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Alright, now just wait for 15 seconds. Guys, don't text
Okay.
on the channel or else you guys won't be able to
Guys.
text again for 15 seconds. So, yeah.
Guys, enough. So you all got an understanding how we do that, right? We're gonna take the person who answers first. All right. So, I mean, this is really interesting. Okay, so here comes the first question ever. This question carries an NFT. I mean, the person who answers this correct will get an NFT. So the question is as follows: what is the name of a rock band who will be giving their tickets as NFTs? Okay, I believe we got the answer. Did we? Yes.
Yeah, the first one is Kenny. I'm penning your message.
You mean Kanye?
Congrats, Kenny. Kenny or
Yeah,
Kanye?
like Kanye, Kanye.
Kanye from Kanye West. Nice. All right, congrats, Kanye. Sorry, West. You got it really correct. And so yeah, congrats on the NFT. All right, so can we go to the next question? If yes, can I get a, let's say, not yes, can I get a dot? Can I just get a dot on the chat? Yeah. Okay, this is the spontaneity I was looking for. Thanks, guys. Thanks. We can pause. Yeah. So let's go to the second question. I want really every one of you to be alert. Which standard NFTs did Taaha discuss later in this event? Which standard of NFTs did Taaha discuss? I see the answer.
Yeah,
By the way, Tilak, just select ERC21A. A lot of people have spammed ERC721.
So the answer
There's
is
also
ERC721. Yeah, 721. Oh, okay, yeah.
so
Viraj, did we get the right answer?
Samya Batra. No, Aditya 491 said ERC 721A.
Yep.
Congrats, Tyagi. Guys, why are you messaging me personally? I mean, I don't want this happen like, I mean, the answer has to be on the group in the chat right now because we won't be able to judge because like we are 3 people on the panel and yeah.
Oh yeah, guys, don't text personally. If you're on your phone, then swipe right from the left corner of your screen. Scroll a little bit, you'll see something known as Web3 written over there. Click on that Web3 text channel, and it will take you to a text channel that where everyone is texting already. So yeah, only if you text in that text channel, then it is valid. If not, your personal DMs don't count, basically.
Found it? Yeah, perfect. Praful, glad you found it. So yeah, let's see. Okay, let's go to the third question, ladies and gentlemen of the evening. So this is a GK question. So who made the term metaverse? Who made the term metaverse? Still waiting for the answer, guys. What? Someone said
Let's
Rahul
see
Gandhi.
let's see who can Google fast.
Yeah, bro, this is.
Okay, we got the
Someone said
answer.
really Rahul.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
We got the answer. Infamous Deegan. Neil Stephenson is the answer.
Yeah. Just pen that, Tilak.
Did.
Great job.
Also, just one thing, guys, the people who are winning these NFTs will contact you, so don't worry about DMing any of the mods or anyone. We will contact you.
Yep.
Okay, so let's get to let's say the fourth question and the last question for this evening. So, okay, what this is going to be a super easy question because it's related to the guest. What's the name of the guest company? What's the name of guest company?
Okay.
Yeah, I see the answer.
Tanmay said the answer first.
Congrats, Tanmay. Okay, so I mean that makes me reach to the end of this session. Do you need a bonus? Do you need a bonus? Do you need a bonus question? Okay, let's do it. Let's do it. Viraj, can we do it?
Yeah, man, definitely. We'll go bankrupt, but okay.
Okay. So this is
Just
something
wait
you would
15.
have.
Just wait 15 seconds. No?
Yeah. Let me know when I can ask.
Yeah, go ahead now.
Don't do
Okay.
the
So
cheating.
I'm gonna ask the last question for today. Guys, again, you're right now on one of India's biggest student communities called Bluelearn, where we try to provide you the best value possible. I mean, thoda promotion to karna padega na? Yeah. Thanks for coming. So yeah, here we go for the last question for today. Which is the most widely used Ethereum wallet?
Okay, we got it.
Okay. Perfect, guys. Perfect. I mean, that's been a wonderful session. So did we get the person who
Yeah, it's
answered
RC.
first?
RC, ARCY.
Congrats, RC. So it's been beautiful hosting to such lively audience. I mean, thanks a lot, Taha. And I must say, I'm really glad to have conversations like such. Thanks for coming.
Taha, I don't think you're audible.
Taha, yet we can't hear anything. Uh, okay. Okay, guys. So how was the session overall? Did you enjoy it, or how was it? Like, let me know. How was it? Okay. Thanks, guys. I mean, we try to make it as lively as possible. And yes, we're doing it right now. And a lot of things are coming on this very server. A lot of information to be consumed, just like a piece of bread that can be swallowed. Okay, that's a bad example, but yeah. My name is Chandan Perla, and thanks a lot to Thilak. Thanks a lot to Viraj. Thanks a lot to the entire Bluelearn team who has supported us to make this event possible. And thanks a lot, Taha. Thanks for coming. You've been the showstopper for this evening. Thanks a lot. My name is Chandan Perla, and see you in the next session. Tada. Bye.
Also, if you guys want to still talk about the metaverse, then there's a Web3